This is Next Radio 2017 with Broadcast Bionics.
Right, let's talk about brand creep. And what do we mean by brand creep? Well, specifically, it's about making sure that your brand stays on the straight and narrow, especially when your brand has strength, which we're very lucky. It's about being creative and surprising and amazing within the comfort and sometimes the constraints of your own brand values. Now, as the write-up says, Jazz FM is one of the world's best-known radio stations in your booklet today. And all of us who work there are reminded of this in the most bizarre of places. Sometimes we'll be on an outside broadcast around the other side of the world and someone will come up and tell us. On the streets, maybe. Or if you're on your holiday, as I was a couple of weeks ago when I took this photo here. I was at Paynton Zoo down in Devon, and you know, when you work for Jazz FM and you see a chameleon in real life, it makes you go a little bit warm and fuzzy. But the really interesting thing was, as I took that very photo, the bloke behind me turned to someone he was with and said, "Jazz FM, listen in colour." Now, I tell you what, that knocked me for six, I have to say. And look, it shows you that our brand, we're really lucky. It's at the top of its game, both visually and as a piece of audio at the moment. And our look and our music defines us like a marketer could only dream of. Jazz FM isn't a brand that hangs itself on a few choice marketing phrases about feeling good and a shallow love of the music, etc., etc. Jazz FM is about the music. It's the artists, it's the heritage, it's all manner of things. We're 28 years old this coming year, and the Chameleon itself is 21 years old. We are the largest jazz media in the UK, and we're the largest English-speaking jazz media in the world. So we got quite a difficult job, which I like to call keeping the chameleon cool. That is what we do on a daily basis with brand creep. I've got 5 things to tell you about. Now, these are specifics to what we do, but they're all adaptable. So let's look at number 1, shall we? Know and celebrate your limits. Now, we know this is rather about being half full than half empty. One thing we totally understand is, for example, Jazz FM, being a genre caster, is never going to be a massive blockbuster brand like many are or many want to be. We know that our audience doesn't necessarily choose us as their first choice of radio station. And we're absolutely fine with that. It allows us to program our content a little more cleverly and give them reasons to come and join us. We've also accepted this at a business level as well. And our business is built around a certain audience type and level. And whereas most... Hello. Whereas most... let me see where I am. And can we get that? Thank you. Always. Come on. We don't see our music as restrictive. Listen, we love it. We absolutely bask in jazz and all of its wonderful colours. In fact, if you think back over the 28 years, there's been some times in Jazz FM's life when it's been a dark time when people haven't engaged with the music. Times it's not even played jazz, for goodness sake. Listen, we may be commercial in our approach. We're a commercial radio station after all, but we trust and believe in our music. Okay, on to number 2, head versus heart. What do I mean by this? This is about making decisions, and this is about making the right decisions in the right way. What better way to describe this than putting the right people in the right places? For example, think of us. We're a genre-casting radio station. Very easy to fill it through full. Fill the radio station full of people who are into the music. Disaster. Absolute disaster. Our product is our audience. Let's remember that. And you need radio people in there to do that well. It's the worst of businesses when you do that. So I'd just like to flag up, by the way, everyone who works for Jazz FM is into the music. Okay, let's just get that out there. So let's look at one example of where we've done that. Now, I would say that's our music department. We're very lucky. We still have 2 people working for it. We've got one person who is the head of music, or it should be called the heart. He loves the music. He's passionate about it. He's central in the jazz music community. He's also a brilliant broadcaster, one of the best in the country, but that's where he firmly sits. And then we have a commercial radio guy who runs G Selector and outputs the optimum running order every single day. A long history in UK commercial radio, this guy. Put them together, and we have a music policy that continually drives forward and never goes left field, never goes too conservative. So what I'm saying is get the right people in the right place and make decisions that are correct and make the station move forward in the right direction. Don't be scared. In genre-led casting, don't get blindsided by the community in which you find yourselves in. Put music people in music places and put radio people in radio places. And let me give you one final example of this. Someone said to me the other week, one of those who sit in the music side of the business, I'm just thinking, should we play more music and stop talking about all those competitions and commercial partners that we've got on the radio station? Exactly. Number 3, work your commercial brands hard. Jazz FM's really lucky. Of our audience, 80% of them are ABC Ones, and that's very desirable amongst a lot of people out there who don't necessarily advertise on the radio. And we see this as a positive, because what we do is we get lots of partners. Not only do we work for them, but we get them to work for us. We're incredibly proud of who we work with, and we make them work for Jazz FM in very clever ways to gain us exposure. So remember, push the brands up front that help you the most. And by that I mean, get your name out there with them. You'll find most of the brands that we work with at Jazz FM are proud to tell their fans on social media that they're working with us. How great is that? So we absolutely use that to the best of our ability. And I'd say the same of that with non-commercial partners as well, which means that I now go on to number 4, non-commercial partnerships that matter. Listen, we've all been offered a great prize, maybe not so great prize from some PR company that doesn't really work for us, or maybe an outside broadcast without a commercial return. Stop. You've got to think, what's in it for my radio station? If they're not paying you cash, then what can you get out of it? And the prize in the OB is not a good enough answer. So look at their brand side by side with yours and ask if it will enhance you. Be selective. Remember, the listener won't miss what you don't do, but they will not forget what you do. Look at some of these partners that we work with. We're incredibly proud of them all. And let me just talk about this one here, the Love Supreme Jazz Festival. Jazz FM founded this in 2013. We no longer own the business. Last year, or this year I should say, it sold out. 30,000 people were in a field in Sussex. Absolutely sold out, and we got so much of the praise for it. How cool is that? Really works for us. In the fields, hundreds of Jazz FM t-shirts, like a festival uniform. What more can you say? Okay, nearly there now. Number 5, bring yourself to life. Once or twice a year, do something that puts your brand at the front. Think about the Capital Jingle Bell Ball or Radio 2's Festival in a Day. What they did was they did it properly, and they were first and foremost on all of those things. It's not always lucky in the commercial world to do that, but this is your own event, so absolutely do it. Work your brand values hard. Make yourself look and sound the best that it can be, and pull out all the stops. Let me give you a great example of us here at Jazz FM. The Jazz FM Awards, 2013 we founded it. It is now a central point to the jazz music community calendar, and people come from all over the world to be part of it. Ronnie was getting that bag for Charlie because it has some Jazz FM drumstick pencils in it. But did you see that? We had the Rolling Stones there. We had Sir Van Morrison, and we had Georgie Fame. And one of the great things that came from that a couple of weeks later was we received this letter to the office at Jazz FM, handwritten. Didn't know who it was from, apart from the little signature at the bottom, C.R. Watts, drummer, the Rolling Stones. Right, so let's just recap on some of those points, the generic ways of doing it. How to avoid brand creep. Know and celebrate your limits. Head versus heart. Make the right decisions for the right reasons. Work your commercial partners hard, non-commercial partnerships that matter, and bring yourself to life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nick Pitts, everybody.